Today we have Devin Miller at lawwithmiller.com. How are you doing, Devin?
I'm doing wonderful as ever. No complaints.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So I want to hear more about you, of course. So what's the story about how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so that's a probably a much or a short question to a much longer answer, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, it probably backs up to. I'll start with undergraduate. So I ended up getting 4 degrees, which are 3 degrees more. My
Wow.
wife always says 3 degrees more than I needed, but I got electrical engineering degree, Chinese degree, a law degree, and then a
Wow.
master's business administration or an MBA. And really, with all of that, so at undergraduate, I was doing electrical engineering as my primary focus, and I kind of got to the end, and I said, "Hey, I love engineering, but I don't want to be an engineer in the sense that I don't want to be, stuck on a project for a long period of time and be a small cog in a very big wheel. I like to be able to, have a much more greater impact, and so I was kind of at that crossroads. And there's a part of me that loved entrepreneurship, startups, small businesses, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
part of me that loved the law and kind of patents and be able to work with a lot of inventors and kind of work to protect it. And so both of those kind of had my competing interests, and hence why I went and did both degrees. So I did a law degree and an MBA, kind of splitting the deck. And then at the same
Okay.
time, while I was doing that, I was doing both degrees. I was clerking for about 20 hours a week as a law clerk at a law firm working there. And then I was also did my first startups. And so entered in a business competition with some other people, did reasonably well, bought them out, and started my first business. And so that's kind of been my mantra throughout all of my career, is I kind of always have those two competing interests. On the one hand,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked for some large law firms, top 100 in the nation, I worked with companies like Amazon and Intel and Ford and others. And at the same point, I still love to do startups and small businesses. So with all of that, about 2.5 years ago, I decided, well, I wanted to kind of branch out, do my own thing, focus on all my own things. So I started Miller IP Law, that is focused on startups and small businesses,
Okay.
and then I'm continue to pursue a lot of the startups on the side. So I end up probably working 2 full-time jobs, but love every minute of it. And that's kind of, in a nutshell, brought me to where I'm at today.
Love that. I mean, like you said, love both of it. So as long as you're enjoying the process and enjoying where you're at now, it makes it worth it.
Exactly. So no, I couldn't ask for anything more. So I never have 2 days that are alike, and every day is pretty different. At the same time, I enjoy every minute of it.
Love that. Absolutely. So how have you been able to stay just sane at peace through so many transitions throughout your life and throughout your career?
Um, I don't know. It's a fair question. I mean, I, first of all, I always joke, whenever anybody ever asks me my hobby, I always tell them it's startups, because that's where I end up putting all my
Hmm.
time and focus if I have any time. For me, it was, I don't know that I didn't don't know that I always balanced everything perfectly. I
Hmm.
probably come to a better place in life now than I sometimes previously did. But really, when I started, I probably focused more on work and building career than I should have on family. And and that was
Okay.
kind of, that's always came to a point in my career that I always felt like, family was always, there's always fires to put out right now, this, for any given business, and there's always more things to do, the time to do them. But if I'm always so focused on putting out those fires, then I'll never, those are always the immediate thing. I'll never have time for a
Hmm.
life or for family or for anything else. And so I kind of had to step back and say, what I'm really going to do is I'm going to put out as many fires as I can while I'm at work, get many things done. And then when I go home, I'm going to be present with the family. And then the next day, there'll be plenty more fires to put out, and I'll come back and do more work, and kind of take that as a mentality, and get as far as I can each day and leave what I can to get done for the next day.
Absolutely. And so with that, now obviously you have some personal experience, I'm sure, to offer your clients as well. Who exactly do you serve and what problems do you sort of help them with?
Yeah, so we we focus on startups and small businesses. Our kind of
Mhm.
our mantra, we have some bigger clients, we work with some larger ones, but really when I started the business is saying, first of all, I said, which kind of clients do I like to work with? What is it that I like to do? And I always found saying, hey, the ones I always have the most fun with and enjoy most is the startups and the small businesses. You get a bigger
Mhm.
impact on them. You get to see, you actually, you're not a small cog in a big wheel, but what you're doing really does affect their business. And so we said, okay, we're going to do that. And then our mantra is more of, helping startups to protect and grow their businesses. And so, we offer on the protection side, we'll do everything from patents to help them protect their inventions, trademarks to help them protect their brands. We'll do business formations like LLCs in order to help them protect their personal assets. And then we also look at doing those same things, not as only protections, but really in order to build an asset to the company, something that's investable, that's valuable, they can actually create and generate a profit for them. And then we kind of marry those two things together. So it's really the startups and the small businesses that we help do patents, trademarks, and LLCs, and a few
Okay.
other things like NDAs and things like those.
Of course. And so even in your name, it says law, and obviously you named a bunch of legal aspects as well. So is there like some interest in, lawyers or legalities as well that you brought into it, or how did that kind of merge with business specifically?
Yeah, so I'm an attorney, so patent and trademark attorney. So in
Mm-hmm.
order to do patents and trademarks, unless you do them yourself as a solo inventor, you have to go through an attorney. So it's
Mm-hmm.
part of what I did, as part of that startup, that helping them protect and grow.
Okay.
That's where I got the law degree. I started out,
Wow.
when I started my firm a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago or so, it was myself and a paralegal. We brought on a few other attorneys, but I still offer that legal perspective of how you do that. And then I married that with offering the business perspective as well of kind of things that you should consider, not just from the legal, but from the business perspective.
Okay. So you've worn a lot of hats then throughout your career.
Yep, and I probably only continue to wear more hats, so it seems like I continue to figure out ways to juggle more balls, not less.
Of course. What hat would you say has been your favorite to wear then?
Um, that's probably, the old cliche things is as much as, saying,
Mm-hmm.
picking your favorite child. I'll tell you the ones I don't like to wear.
There you
Taxes I
go.
don't like to wear, payroll, accounting, all those
Of
things,
course.
necessary evil to get done. And
Mm-hmm.
but the fun things, I enjoy the law side. I enjoy doing patents and trademarks. I
Okay.
enjoy one of them that I think it's fun, whether or not I do well at it, is website building. I tend to like to kind of get on the e-commerce or at least the online part of it, marketing with kind of with the business stuff. And then the overall management of a lot of times I find that I end up spending more of my time directing a lot of the people, so we have marketers
Mhm.
on the team, we have attorneys, we have everything else, but it's kind of that bigger picture overview of how to get everybody doing what they need to do, getting everything done. And that's kind of, I think, kind of meshes everything or blends everything together in what I enjoy doing.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad it sounds like you're in your favorite hat right now. So that's good. That's really
That's
good.
right.
And throughout this journey, what are some of the obstacles that you've seen your peers or coworkers struggle with when it comes to energy management?
I mean, if the easiest one is with attorneys is the legal field is notorious for burnout in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that everybody the legal profession is set up that you work what is called a billable hour. You work a whole bunch of hours and you get paid well, and you're
Mm-hmm.
always writing off time. You're always trying to keep everything busy, and so one of the easiest things is for people in attorneys to get overloaded with too many things and get sacrifice family, sacrifice if you look at the legal industry, it's one of the worst for alcoholisms, for drug abuse, for everything else. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because they have to have coping mechanisms. And so I think that the biggest thing with a lot of times, at least in the legal profession, and probably some degree in the startup profession, is taking on too many things, not balancing things enough, not finding that, taking that, hey, I can only get so much done today and we'll get more done tomorrow, leads to that burnout. And then when people get burned out, they kind of have that downward spiral that
Mm-hmm.
causes them to do things that they otherwise wouldn't.
Okay. And so, what does then being a conscious business leader mean to you, being obviously in that kind of rigorous industry, probably to help, like I say, your coworkers, your employees, even dealing with your clients?
Yeah. So I think that there's kind of two ways to approach that. One is how
Mm-hmm.
do we deal with clients, and then how do I deal with the employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so On the employee side, it's trying to one set a, and sometimes I do much better and sometimes I still work on it,
Hmm.
but setting an example of what it means to have that balance. Meaning if I'm always in here working all the time, never spending any time with family, then it kind of sets the pace that everybody else feels like they need to do that. So
Hmm.
I try and take off at a reasonable time, get in at a reasonable time, give that balance, or give that at least that, it's okay to have a family type of thing and have work, to set that example. And then also we regularly talk about if you overloaded and how you manage things. We have those kind of one-on-one discussions to make sure that they're managing things and not getting overloaded. And certainly there's times where you have a big push and you have to get things done,
Hmm.
but that shouldn't be the norm. On the client side, as far as conscientious leader, and kind of where I look at it is, we need to be servicing our clients and making sure that they're taken care of. And one of the biggest things that we always harp on is customer service and how we actually taking care of the customer, our clients. And as funny as it sounds, that should be a simple thing and an easy thing, and yet most law firms, most lawyers are terrible at customer service. As give you an anecdote, most attorneys, they take, anytime when a client reaches out to them, it takes 3 to 5 days for them to reach back out. Meaning if you email them, call them, anything, you can email them or call them on Monday, and it likely won't be till Thursday or Friday before
Hmm.
you even hear back, which is just a terrible thing. So conscientious of how are we treating our clients like they should be treated, taking care of them, making sure that they are, if we were in their shoes, that we would be feeling like we were doing a good job. So I don't know, maybe that answers your question. Those are kind of a couple ways that I split it.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause you said it definitely is a difference of how you approach both sides of it, of course. And so you mentioned, like I said, being an example, kind of showing how to keep things balanced as far as the employees go. Is there anything
Mm.
that you have implemented right now in your business as far as, kind of maybe helping people have more of that balance?
Yeah, I mean, one is certainly an example, and I think that's the biggest one. The other one that we do is we do some mandatory time off, to where we tell people, hey, you
Okay.
need to actually take your time off. It's not there just to as
Mhm.
a in namesake only, or to build it up and try and make more money with the payout or anything, but you need to actually take that time off. And we also try and encourage people, hey, if you have those events, let's fight. The best way I think I found is to make yourself approachable, so they feel like if they're coming to you with time off, and if they have something in life, as long as it fits within, we on top of our projects getting things taken care of, make it as an approachable, as a boss or as a leader, in
Mhm.
order to say, hey, yes, that's perfectly fine, that's understandable. We also are reasonably flexible, even before COVID hit, before it was cool, of letting people, if they need to work from home or they need to
Mhm.
have a bit of remote work, we still have people come in the office, but we do have that flexibility. Hey,
Okay.
I got to go do this with the kids. I wouldn't be able to get back in time to really make sense to commute back and forth. Can I finish off the day from home? And as usually
Okay.
it makes sense, we certainly let them. So kind of a few different things that we try and create
Mhm.
that bit of that culture that allows people to, one, feel like they can take time off, and two, or lead by example.
Right. Of course, just showing that you understand at the end of the day that they're human and need to, in order to function, they need to take care of some things outside the office as well and have that balance.
Yep, exactly.
So, what exactly is the free strategy meeting that your company offers?
Yeah. So another thing, kind of going almost back to that kind of customer service type
Hmm.
feel, is one of the things that I found, working with a lot of startups and small businesses, is that oftentimes they are hesitant to approach an attorney or even go into their office, because they feel like they're going to have to pay for consultation, or they're going to
Mm.
have the billable hour kick in. And every time they ask any question or send any email, they're going to be billed for it. And so that was stopping people from getting good legal counsel, or actually doing some of
Okay.
the things that their business needed. So we said, okay, how can we remedy that? And we said, okay, well, let's, if they're wanting to, now, if you hire me to do work, I'm going to bill you for it,
Mhm.
because I still need to make a profit. But at
Yes.
least on the sense of, hey, if you have questions, if you're needing to if you want to get going, get a strategy in place, we'll sit down with you, we'll have a meeting. It's up to 30 minutes. They can ask any questions. We'll answer them, both from, hey, this is what I do if I was in your shoes, to, hey, this is what a patent is, or this is what a trademark is, or here's what you may want to consider. Hey, I wouldn't do this right now, or you may want to hold this off in the 6 months. But we kind of just sit down, have a meeting where they can kind of get their questions answered, get a roadmap, get a strategy. We don't charge them for it, and that allows them to kind of understand what they should be thinking about with their business.
Okay, so kind of just to open the door a little bit, like you said, they can peek their head in, see how it goes and everything like that, and then hopefully something can happen further from there.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect, perfect. And so where do you see the company going within the next 3 to 5 years? What is your ideal, vision?
And I'm going to add one more thing to the last question. Then
Yeah,
I'll
of
absolutely
course.
answer
Of
that. So,
course.
and if anybody just, if any of the listeners of that want to come along, all you do is go to freestrategymeeting.com. You can grab some time and be able to schedule that way. So just as an easy way to connect up, if you ever have any questions on the legal side, particularly with business, patents, and trademarks, feel free to reach out to us there.
Perfect.
Now, yes, 3 to 5 years. That's always a hard question. I don't know if I fully settled on it. I mean,
Hmm.
I look at it as less on, do I want to make so much of an income? I mean, obviously we want to be profitable. We want to make money. If not, the business goes out of business, and that doesn't work. We want to, but I look at it as more, what are the goals, or where do we want to be in position, as opposed to, I don't need to have so many employees that feel successful. We don't have to have so much of an income, but are we are we keeping on with where we want to be, in the sense, are we still focusing on startups and small businesses? And, one of the other things we've looked at is, the next 3 to 5 years, if you ask me at least where the legal industry is going, I think there's a lot of, you see it right now with LegalZoom pop up and Rocket Lawyer and other things, where there's kind of that need for, hey, people are saying we can't always afford an attorney, or we can't afford the high attorneys rates, but we still need help. And what are those other tools? And so a lot of the things
Okay.
that kind of, for the next 3 to 5 years, in addition to what we're doing now, is to start rolling out a lot of those tools that help the startups and small businesses to be able to take care of their business, even if they can't always afford us as attorneys. And so that's kind of one of
Okay.
the things we're looking as to, how do we position ourselves to help those that are maybe can't always
Mhm.
afford an attorney. Now, I still recommend an attorney. I think that's the best option, but
Mhm.
I also been there in the startups and the small businesses, and
Mhm.
know, money, there's always more things in a small startup to spend money on than money to spend. And so when you're doing that, let's figure out how we can continue to help the business community.
Right, kind of increase accessibility a little bit while still being profitable.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Of course. So Devin Miller can be found at lawwithmiller.com. Is there anywhere else that people should go to find more information or to contact you?
Yeah, so you mentioned one, lawwithmiller.com. That's going to be the kind of the general website, let you know what our prices are. You can also schedule the strategy meeting. You can find out more about us. We have a lot of content and a lot of tools and information there, so that's a great place. We already mentioned one of the other ones, which is freestrategymeeting.com. They can go there and they can schedule some time to sit down and chat about their business and what they might want to consider. And if people ever want to reach out to me, whether it's to find out more about my businesses, shoot the breeze, become my next best friend, any of the reasons they want to reach out to me, you can go to meetdevin.com, and that one's one that just links to my personal calendar, and they're always welcome to reach out and connect up with me there.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Devin Miller. So this has been great. Amazing information. Y'all check that out at lawwithmiller.com. Thank you, Devin.
Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure.